bring in Republican Senator Tom Cotton, GOP conference chair and chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. And, sir, more than half of Jewish Americans report experiencing some sort of anti-Semitism in the past year, and nearly 8 in 10 are concerned about it in America. You also have a global outlook because of your position on the Intelligence Committee. What do you know, or what can you tell us about the chatter about these kinds of attacks that are going on, and we see them popping up lots of different places?
Well, unfortunately, there's been a rising wave of anti-Semitism around the world, to include here at home. Earlier this year, a few blocks from the Capitol, a young Jewish couple was shot dead coming out of a Jewish event. There's been multiple attacks on synagogues and other Jewish sites in recent years in the United States. And I think it's something that it's very sad. Nobody should have to worry about being targeted when they go to church or send their kid to school or go to a cultural or religious event, and something against which we need to be very vigilant, especially when you look at the kind of violence that happened over the weekend in Australia. You had a man of Pakistani descent and a son who had been born in Australia and yet had not seemed to assimilated to their culture. We need to be mindful about mass migration from the third world, especially places that are known to have radical Islamic movements and to hate America and to hate Jews. It's another reminder, too, about why birthright citizenship is not a good idea. So these are all things that we have to keep in mind as we make sure that we're protecting every American, especially our Jewish brethren who have been targeted by this wave of anti-Semitic violence. We cannot tolerate it.
The leadership in Australia eventually came around to that yesterday amid that developing story. Here is Ilhan Omar on Sunday afternoon talking about gun control, because that is what the leadership in Australia initially was talking about. In a country that's got pretty tight gun laws. Watch here from Sunday.
It is a tragedy that this has become a normal occurrence, not just in the United States, but now seeing it in Australia, who's worked really hard to create gun prevention laws to prevent the kind of tragedy that took place today.
What do you think about that, Senator?
Well, Bill, as you said, Australia already has very strict gun control laws. I'll be curious to know more about how these two men had licensed guns, especially since the Australian authorities have revealed that a few years back the son was under investigation. They didn't say why. They didn't say what his associates were under investigation for. You know, one might guess that it might be for extremist ties, but we can see what happens. But especially if they were under investigation for such ties, how in the world were they allowed under Australia's very strict gun control laws to have firearms? It's also a reminder that gun control in the end is not a solution. If nobody is allowed to have guns in a country, in the end, only the bad guys will have guns.
Okay, so can you just project ahead for us a little bit in terms of what can be done, especially in terms of intelligence sharing across the world, to try to prevent these things from happening?
Well, Australia is one of our closest partners when it comes to sharing foreign intelligence. There's only so much we can do when it comes to domestic law enforcement, even our closest partners like Australia. But I do think it's something that, again, we have to be very mindful of, this wave of anti-Semitic violence that unfortunately has happened here in the United States, especially over the last 2 years since Hamas's depraved attack on Israel. And we can't be politically correct about it. We can't turn a blind eye to it just because it comes predominantly from Muslim countries or Muslim communities inside of our own countries. We have to stand up to it. In any society that does not confront anti-Semitism head on ends up corroding its own foundations. That's what we need to do here in the United States, and we need to help our partners see the need to do that as well.
Let's just
in
roll.
their countries.
Yeah, sorry, sir. Let's roll Senator Fetterman's comment from Maria's show on Sunday.
It's an absolute betrayal for Israel and for the worldwide Jewish community, like whether it's France or Australia or any of these nations, our Western allies now calling for a two-state solution when Hamas refuses to disarm and are actively trying to kill Jews. I can't imagine why anybody would do that at this point.
Just the last comment on that, Senator Cotton, when you think about Benjamin Netanyahu called the Australian leader and said, you can't call for a Palestinian state in the middle of this war. It's only going to lead to more anti-Semitic acts against Jews in Australia. And whether you want to make a connection or not, sir, it happened on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, John Fetterman is right. Australia and some European nations have recognized a non-existent Palestinian state in an open and blatant reward for Hamas's depraved attack on Israel. That's the exact opposite of what we should be doing.
Senator Cotton, we always appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.